Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today is December 27th, 2021. Welcome to Wall Street to Bay Street Sunday Chai with Shari Portfolio Canada. My name is Nadeem Mia.
And my name is Sajjad. Grab your chai ready and let's start to talk about the market. 2022. What's your overall view of the market for 2022, Nadeem?
Sure. 2021 was obviously a pretty good year for the market, for the S&P 500, I should say. 2022 might be a year where we can kind of revert back to the mean. In other words, the long-term average on the S&P 500 is about 9.9%, about 10%. So our view is that, we could probably see things kind of going back to that number as opposed to, what we saw this year with the S&P being, north of 25%. At least that's what it looks like it's going to close off to. And the reason for that is 2021 was definitely a bounce back year. 2022 could still continue to be a year where we still get growth, but not getting that snapback rally from the post lockdown environment. In general, yeah, we are going to be faced with an environment where central banks look to be tightening up their policy in general. So that could be, one of the reasons why, we can get a more moderate return in the global markets going forward.
Next question. What are the select areas you are most bullish in 2022?
Yeah, I think, it's going to definitely be an interesting year. We feel that it's going to be a market where active stock picking comes back. And so, with moderate means, you have to be a little bit more selective as far as where you go. I think some of the areas that we're most bullish on would be starting with energy. We still think that there's some structural issues in the energy sector with energy stocks. Energy prices are at highs, but what we're seeing is, previously, when we've seen energy at these highs, we've seen a lot of activity in the energy sector through the stocks. We've seen production really kind of ramp up. Although we're seeing a little bit of that, we're not seeing that excessive stuff. Most of the energy companies today are being much more disciplined when it comes to their capital spending. So overall, we think that, we're in an environment where energy stocks can continue to do well. Fundamentally, they're sound. So that would be one. The other area that we're still bullish on are still the large cap technology stocks. Some people like to use FANG, but in general, we're talking about, the leaders of the S&P 500, which tend to be the Apples, the Googles, those types of names. And, the reason for that is, they had strong earnings growth in 2021. They're still expected to have strong growth in 2022. You could possibly see their multiples increasing, but in general, these are companies that are fundamentally sound, that are companies that have some pricing power, and also have a pretty good moat when it comes to their businesses, right? So that would be the second sector. And I guess the third sector, we're looking at is probably healthcare, where we could get, some bumpiness to start the year in 2022. And, healthcare is a sector that typically, when things are economically challenged, so to speak, healthcare tends to be one of those defensive sectors that can continue to do well. And in general, I would say, healthcare, the healthcare sector isn't one of those sectors that has kind of taken off and is looking at extreme, valuation levels right now. So those would kind of be the three areas, for 2022 that we think, we're probably most bullish on.
Great. And what are the risks in 2022?
The risks are obviously, similar to what we saw in 2021. You have COVID kind of being an issue that's still lingering. That can potentially be a risk. We've had new variants and whatnot. The question then becomes, how much of an impact is this having on the economy and the markets? So that's issue number one. But I think probably the biggest risk is going to be, what central banks and the US Feds are doing in terms of their policy. Did they get it right? Did they get it wrong? Are they tightening too fast or too little? these are all, I guess you could say, the risk would be, is there a policy mistake risk here, right? And I think that would probably be another. And the other risk, obviously, is inflation, where inflation has been top of the headline, in 2021, where we've seen historically high levels. The risk here is that, is this pattern going to continue, or is this something that kind of cools off a little bit, right? We're of the opinion that, we do think that it does cool off and come back down, or at least the growth of it is going to start to decline. But overall, that still tends to be a risk right now in the market for 2022.
Excellent. Oh, that's all the question that we had for this week. Again, thanks for joining us. If you have more questions, feel free to put in comment area below. And also, for more details, you can see the recorded webinar that we had last week on our YouTube channel. Again, thanks. Thanks. Have a good holiday.
Yeah. Happy holidays, everyone, for those celebrating. And look forward to the new year, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Nadeem Mian, Portfolio Manager, registered as an advising representative, and Shamil Devji, Financial Advisor, registered as a dealing representative with Sharia Portfolio Canada Inc., a portfolio manager registered in the provinces of Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta. Their opinions and statements expressed in this show are their personal opinions and do not necessarily reflect those of Sharia Portfolio. They are effective as of the date of this broadcast only and are subject to change. This discussion is for general information purposes only and is not investment advice.